Welcome to Tone Talks. Welcome to Tone Talks. Welcome to Tone Talks. How's everybody doing today? This is Antonio Moore coming to you. I wanted to speak about this Jussie Smollett nonsense that's coming across media, that's taking all of our attention away from dealing with a black agenda and forcing these Democratic candidates to answer to black America. So Jussie Smollett got the charges dropped. Congratulations to him. You know, when we look at the facts, I'll talk about some of those in a second. It's all questionable. You know, you have this new news that came out about Michelle Obama's aide talking to the DA, all kind of stuff that just is real shaky. But I'm not here for that first. What I'm here for is to tell you as black America, your responsibility is to yourself, to your family, to your community. It's not to Jussie Smollett. Right now what we have, you have one man in Jussie Smollett taking the discussion away from a black agenda and forcing the Democrats to answer the reparations, to talking about the hysteria around whether his hoax is real or not. If it is real, this is one of the greatest travesties in race in some years in you know, my adult life, because it's just like we're talking about reparations and the black agenda. We're forcing the Democratic candidates to answer to us and answer to our votes, and we have you, this biracial man who's had nothing but privilege in his life to this point, basically taking the foot off the pedal so that black America, along with white America, can look at you and see some kind of aberration and normalize that for the Eric Garners, for the Philando Castillos, for the Alton Sterlings. We don't get away. But somehow, because Jussie Smollett went through what he went through, black America becomes somehow just as privileged as white folks. I guess we got black privilege, like Charlemagne said. None of it is true. I tell you that as a criminal defense attorney, none of this case makes sense. But my bigger statement to you is stay focused. Your responsibility right now is to push Democratic candidates for a black agenda. You can find points that we feel are important on ADOS101.com. As American descendants of slavery, you have barely no wealth. You live in an America that requires great amounts of wealth. And I just feel like y'all got to start being real and start being focused. I know 3 weeks ago reparations was fun, but you better be here today because it's real. And I'm saying to you, the fact that Jussie Smollett has dominated the news the way it has tells you that the media is looking to not have this discussion. You can't look to not have this discussion about black agenda and reparations in your house until they fix it. So let's talk about it a little bit. Everybody's kind of familiar with Jussie Smollett. I don't want to get to no big details, but basically he had claimed that he was beaten by white men and had a noose around his neck. We have pictures of him in the hospital bed, and everybody came out that Jussie Smollett was abused, and we need to stand behind Jussie Smollett. You had Kamala Harris and Cory Booker and all these politicians come out and show support for Jussie Smollett. Comes out some weeks later that it was actually him and some Nigerians allegedly that set this up and basically set up a hoax around him actually being beaten for whatever reason. Now the charges have been dropped, but the prosecutor that dropped the charges is saying that doesn't mean that we didn't find guilt. We just didn't want to use the resources. I want y'all to be clear that we have 16 counts of felonies, and he was indicted on those 16 counts of disorderly conduct. Might have been overcharged, but these are all class 4 felonies, and the most serious of which carries a maximum of 1 to 3 years in prison. To go from that to community service is very, very odd. Now, this is not normal for black folks. Seeing white folks do it. In no way am I saying I wanted to see this man go to jail, but if he did this and he created this kind of hysteria and wasted this amount of resource, he deserved to go to jail. Now, fundamentally, I'm not on the side of the Chicago PD or Rahm Emanuel. I'm on the side of black America actually understanding the problem of having Jussie Smollett or in all kinds of ways represent us and actually be held out as an example that y'all get away to. So we look at this thing and the Cook County attorney that actually is the head of the office, black woman, I believe, Kim Foxx, who recused herself from the case. As I understand it, she should have assigned a special prosecutor, but she chose not to. Then she recused herself, but kept her office on the case. And when I look at this thing, you look at the involvement of Michelle Obama's top aide, Tina Chin, who jumped into the case and actually sent a text message to Kim Foxx that was inappropriate. And it says, "I wanted to give you a call on behalf of Jussie Smollett and family who I know they have concerns about the investigation." You have all of these interchanges between Kim Foxx and Chin that just weren't weren't right for this case. This is Michelle Obama's ex-former aide, high-ranking aide. All of this just smells just really bad. And as I start to look at this thing and unpack it, I think that when we look at black males and the way that black males are treated, all of the Freddie Grays of the world, I'm not saying that I don't want to see a black man get off, but I'm just questioning whether this black man deserves to get off. Are we gonna be honest about the fact that black men across this country that don't set up their own hoaxes, if this is allegedly true, go to jail for far less? You look at Walter Scott, who was going to jail for child support, and that's what he was running from basically when he was running away from the police. You look at Alton Sterling. You look at Eric Garner selling cigarillos. I believe that you got to give this thing context. And again, you look at the larger context that we are having a national discussion about a black agenda that needs to focus on the reality of the middle black person, not the aberration. Let's talk about Jussie Smollett. So the first thing that we got to recognize is that he's a black celebrity. One of the things that black celebrity is doing right now is basically trying to traffic on the normal struggles of black life to cover themselves up with it. So what they do is they run around and have this very aberrational life, living on $500,000 or $1 million a year. Giving you context of what I mean, only 1% of black families make $500,000. 1%. So when you have these aberrations who don't live the normal reality, 57% of black America makes less than $37,000 for a household. You see Jussie Smollett as a perfect example of this, whereby black celebrity in the decadent veil leverages the struggles of everyday life whenever they get in trouble. And sometimes they actually create trouble that creates some kind of energy around them so they can be discussed for weeks on end on the news. This is insane that this is even daily news. This is the kind of story that should just be, talked about once and then let's get back to a black agenda. Let's get back to reparations. Let's get back to Flint having lead in the water. Let's get back to Loudoun County having feces in the backyard. But see, black America has to make that pressure as well. But we don't want to talk about that. We want to talk about this sensational stuff. I've seen black pundits making statements as if Jussie Smollett getting off is somehow a great advancement for the race. They don't understand. He was not exonerated. He was not exonerated of the crime. In fact, the prosecutor said that he can't even say that he wasn't guilty. He just felt like it was a lack of resources. I've never heard anything like this. That we're not gonna follow up with this because of the lack of resources. It's all questionable. And so the second thing that I see with Jussie Smollett is he's biracial. The dad is Russian Jewish. I don't have no problem with somebody that's biracial per se, but one of the things that we see is that the rooting with the white parent basically allows you to access white privilege like a white person. Yeah, walking down the street you might get accosted and stopped like a black man, but when it comes time to make phone calls, when it comes time to dig into resources to get attorneys, when it comes time to do anything of that sort, you're able to access the same privileges and wealth base that white people can, the same social networks. But then they use you as an example that black people get off too. Well, tell that to somebody with two ADOS parents. I'm just saying. Tell that to somebody with two ADOS parents. I think one of the things that's happening is America is using biracials as a cover to not deal with the fact that we don't want to deal with what the cost of just straight blackness, no chaser is. Now, I'm not saying we ain't all mixed, but it's a big difference having a great-great-grandfather that's white and having a daddy that's white. And in this case, he's Russian Jewish. Again, no issue with somebody being biracial, but let's call this what it is. It's a win for white folks. It's a white man getting off. He's half white, half black. Very privileged. I'm just saying, let's talk about it. And the last thing is LGBT. Again, all respect to whatever they accomplish with their political gains, but it can't come at the cost of African Americans. Many of the spaces that we occupy, from affirmative action to voting rights to all these equal protection gains, were given to us because we were slaves. We were slaves followed by 100 years of Jim Crow. And what you see is that everybody tries to make every area of struggle the same as being an American descendant of slavery, and it's not. And it's not about oppression or limits. It's about truth and history and the reality of what's in your family. What you see is that when this man was running around and dealing with all this stuff, he was trafficking in the gray area. That gray area is in between being an LGBT person and being a biracial person and being a black celebrity. Well, tell that to Freddie Gray. They can't use none of that. And I'm just saying that we got to get honest that Jussie Smollett, in a way, sucked the air out of the room so that the Democrats don't have to deal with the real truth, which is black folks are struggling across this country. And that don't include Jussie Smollett's family. I don't have no issue with him getting out, but I believe that justice needed to be served regardless. I just wanted to come to you with a short video on my opinion. I ain't saying you got to follow what I say. But this is Tone Talks. I'm going to be on this Friday, 7 p.m. Dash Radio, Dash Talk X. Please share this video. Let's stop talking about Jussie Smollett and let's start talking about the real stuff, which is a black agenda. ADOS101.com to get my opinions on that. Thank you so much. Please go to tonetalks.org to subscribe and donate. Share this video. Let's get the dialogue going. Let's stay on a level where we keep the pressure on Kamala Harris, Bernie Sanders, Cory Booker, Elizabeth Warren, Julian Castro, to answer to the fact that our families are struggling. I'm out.